Step 6. The way of the superior man. I've decided, okay, let's just make this into a section for this video, because as I was studying flow state for this full guide, I realized just how much it overlapped with what I've learned about spirituality from the other book, The Way of the Superior Man. So I'm going to tell you about a few overlaps that I saw. I had read the book, The Way of the Superior Man, a long time ago, a year ago, and I've been constantly rereading it, and it served me really well. And there's parts of like the spiritual talk in there, which I never really understood. There's loads of mentions in there that when you have sex with a woman, you can like sort of merge into one, and you can almost like experience God through that act. And I always thought that was like, I didn't understand what he was talking about. I started to research flow state. And one of the things that's mentioned in there is that when you get into a flow, you merge into one with the task that you're doing. So athletes say like it almost feels to them like they've merged into the game themselves. Pianists, you know, the guys who are playing the piano, they feel like, okay, they're just a part of the piano now. So it made me realize that to get to this point of like feeling the spiritual love, like the next level of love that we barely even understand, you need to be in a flow state. And you've probably heard of the spiritual term ego death before. Ego death, ego dissolution. The idea is like ego is like our perception of ourselves. And a lot of spiritual teachers talk about this concept of like essentially killing or like letting your ego die so that you can merge into one. And it's the exact same thing. Like it seems to me that to experience ego death, which is apparently like one of the most important things that we need to be able to do like at some point, we need to be able to get into a flow state, because the flow state is like the dissolution of yourself into the task that you're doing. And then there's another chapter in The Way of the Superior Man, which is the lean just beyond your edge. That's the exact same principles for flow. To get into a flow, you have to lean just beyond your edge. You have to slightly set the challenge a little bit higher than usual so that it stays on the level of your skill or even a little bit past it, so that it constantly requires more from you so that you're quite present and challenged. The Way of the Superior Man says that you can't have the challenge too high, because otherwise you'll be off center, you'll be too tense and stressed, and you won't be able to really realize this experience that you're going through. But you also can't have the challenge too low, otherwise it's just boring and mundane. And that's the exact same principles for what we hear in flow state, which is that the challenge and the skill needs to be at the right level. If the challenge is too low, you're not going to grow. If the challenge is too high and you've got this sort of egotistical arrogance kind of mindset, like, yeah, you know, I'm going to go run a marathon every single day, you know, David Goggins and everything, then you end up like not even like, if you do complete it, which is unlikely, you end up not actually learning the lesson you were supposed to. This book, again, The Way of the Superior Man, mentions that you do this out of the exact same reason why you keep the challenge too low. It's all out of fear. Fear is what causes us to act in a way that isn't for our best interests. You fear being a loser, and so you set the challenge of like whatever you're trying to do too high. You fear pushing yourself too hard, and so the challenge is too low. I've spoke a lot about the concept of finding your purpose as a young masculine man, and that's what I've learned from The Way of the Superior Man. It seems to me that the way you can find your purpose is by feeling out a bunch of different tasks and finding which ones you naturally have quite a lot of like intrinsic enjoyment for. So, you know, flow has all been about like the specific task that you're kind of intrinsically pulled towards, that, you know, dissolves you of thoughts, and you're not doing it for the external results. And so it seems to find your purpose, you just need to go and find like which tasks or jobs or responsibilities kind of put you into a flow state. And that might be a great way to find what you're actually supposed to do to like free your soul. I've got multiple guides on purpose on my channel, so you can just go search on YouTube Hamza Purpose if you want to learn more about that. From what I'm hearing about these books on like masculine spirituality, it seems to me that if you're not going to like live your life totally obsessed about your purpose, there's no point in living at all. And once you understand that, your jaw will drop and you'll realize that you've wasted decades of your life. So if you're willing to go down that realization, just search Hamza Purpose on YouTube and you'll realize what I mean by that.